Welcome everybody. Thank you all for coming out. Thank you all for showing up and being great like you are. My name is Judah Agbonkhina. I am a filmmaker and activist, artist in general. This is the first time we're doing something like this. It's great. I appreciate Brother Ernest for presenting the opportunity. He reached out and wondered if we could do an event where we could have a conversation with the people, just sit down and talk, right? So I was like, okay, let me see who I can reach out to help this thing pop, right? And I'm gonna let everybody introduce themselves, starting with Brother Ernest. But the point of this thing is that everybody up here is a major force in propelling change in Dallas County and in the world. They are major components in building strategy, in organizing. Everybody up here holds positions that allow them to open doors, enlighten people, expose people to different things. So this is the people that my producer and I, Nicole, reached out to. People that we already work with, people that we already know, people that we know have a heart for seeing growth, seeing positive change, right? Not just change, positive change, change in the right direction, and seeing the work that was started in the 60s with the movement continue and lead into the next generation. So that's what this is about. The young people here, I'm glad they're here because this is definitely about them. So, all right, I'll let Brother Ernest introduce himself and we can go from there.
Thank you, Brother Judah. I just want to say it's just an honor to be with you guys back home, back in the community center that has really uplifted our community and educated and shared light. So thank Sister Quechi for opening the doors again and doing the amazing work that she's doing. Thank you, Sister Quechi. Thank you so much. It's just a pleasure to be here. This kind of came about ass backwards, if you forgive my French. I had a ticket to be here this week, and I had an event scheduled. I said, well, what am I going to do with the rest of the day? So this brother, you pull out this magic wand and Nicole to make it happen. So I'm just honored to be a part of it. Thank you for putting it together. So I'm open ears. I'm kind of staggered a little bit by the presence of people going to ask me questions. I have no idea where they're coming from. So this is completely spontaneous in that sense. And so I'm respecting the presence we have with you here, our ancestors who came before us, and just feel relaxed and go trust in the process. Thank you.
Right on. All right, so we'll start to my right, Brother Giles. You can.
Absolutely.
Yes.
My name is Giles King. I'm the producing executive director for the Urban Arts Center here in Oak Cliff. We do theater, dance, music, film, culinary, and visual arts. We provide those free or low cost for the community, and super excited that Judah saw fit for me to be here with this amazing panel.
Right on. Yes, ma'am.
Well, good evening, everyone. I'm Eva Coleman, and I'm, with the mantra of, I guess, if you stay ready, you don't have to get ready. And so I am so honored to be here. Thank you for the invitation, Judah and Nicole. I am the lifestyle and culture editor for Texas Metro News, iMessenger, and the Garland Journal. Publications were Black Press publications here in Dallas, Texas. I'm also the regional director for the National Association of Black Journalists, Region 3, and I'm president of the Dallas-Fort Worth Association of Black Journalists. I've been doing media here in Dallas-Fort Worth. This is year 30 for me. I've also been a media educator in Frisco ISD, and longtime media, all things media, and it's my passion to make sure that the pipeline is strengthened to continue the work that we as journalists do. So thank you for the invitation, and I'm honored to be here.
Thank you.
Awesome. Hey, y'all. I am Shawana Carter. When Judah and Nicole call, I show up. They are real big in my heart. They're good people. I was honored to know that Mr. Ernest was our speaker for the night. I just finished a book. So I got it from a friend and read through and was like, oh, yeah, this is to be fun. So, who am I? I am a nonprofit founder. I founded Carter's House, which is a clothing bank for the community. We provide clothes. I've done that for the last 11 years. I've served over 10,000 students to provide them with clothing to keep them in schools throughout the county, not just Dallas. In addition to that, what else? I am a part-time employee at Dallas Free Press. I am the community ambassador for the Dallas Documents program, which takes regular everyday people and we train them on how to engage civically by attending community and city meetings. We pay them to do that, so it's like a part-time job, but a lot of them are learning much more about the way our government is set up for the city of Dallas that they never even realized, as far as like how the structure is, how long it takes to get something passed, what happens when they miss one step and got to start all the way over again. So this has been an interesting journey. I'm almost at my 1 year mark with this position, and it's been a joy watching I think we've brought in the last 60 people, but watching them learn and see and engage more and be able to tell their friends what's happening in the community. I think it's our duty, right? I've always been the person who made people go vote. Everybody get up, go vote. I'll take you if you ain't got no ride. But to watch people learn like what it means to be civically engaged and to see what happens when people don't has been amazing. So I am honored to be here. Thank you, Judah and Nicole, for having me on the panel.
Thank y'all. And to my left, Brother Gino.
I was gonna let that queen go first.
Oh, go ahead. Go ahead.
Go ahead. The queen said I must go first. Yes. So you know. My name is Gino. I'm a writer, a poet, a creative, and you know, a community activist in the sense that my activism is through my art, and that's it. I'm a humorist. And humbly speaking, right on. And I'm so honored to be here. Brother Ernest McMillan knew my father. In the first few pages, have my dad on it.
Nice.
It's amazing. So I'm learning about him more through his colleagues and their books, and I'm just happy to be here.
Right on. All right.
Okay, my name is Linda Jones, and in short, I'm a writing and wellness coach or doula. I had, like Eva, a 30-year career in journalism, so I was a reporter for a number of years, not just at the Dallas Morning News, but in other cities. And I've always had a penchant for whatever I did as a reporter, making sure that our stories were told, making sure that our stories were told. I have segued into using words. As a reporter, I use words, of course, to inform, disseminate information. But now I help people use their words, give birth to the power of their words, to tell their own stories and to preserve legacy. And also use writing as a tool, as a coach, a restorative wellness coach, to help people navigate difficult emotional situations so they can heal. So that's what the writing and wellness doula is. It's a pleasure to be here with these powerful people on this panel, and we'll see what transpires.
Right up. Brother Yafael.
Yafael Balagoon. I've been active in this community for some time, and it's people like Mr. McMillan that I feel help lay the foundation for folks like myself and folks that's coming in the future to be able to exist and have a sort of a blueprint. So for me, it's an honor and a pleasure to even sit and have this sort of kind of discussion in a place, Pan-African Connection, where I feel has been a home for me since I started. So I appreciate Judah, Nicole, for having me here, and I look forward to learning from each and every person that's here. So I was going to make me a better person.
Right on, brother. Brother Players, I know you just came in, man. Welcome, brother.
Right up the plate.
Yeah, good evening, everybody. Please excuse my tardiness. The traffic was bananas out there. We was coming all the way from Fort Worth, so got stuck behind a few incidents out there. So it looked like everybody was okay in it, though. My name is Ples Montgomery IV. I am the executive director for the Oakland Veggie Project, a nonprofit that started with my mother, Betty Montgomery, to address the needs, to address the food desert situation, the food insecurity, and provide some solutions for food sovereignty within our community here. And I've had, in that time, I've had the experience to work along some many great people, some of which are on the panel here today. And I am looking forward to learning tonight, to seeing what I can get from the other folks on the panel here, and finding out what other folks in the community are doing, and how we can end up working together and bring our collective resources to bear with each other, so that we can build sovereignty and build more community.
Right.
Did I answer the question?
I mean, you answered. You did. Right.
Wonderful.
So, as you guys can see, these are super heavy hitters in my book. Like, you know, people I am extremely honored to know, to have worked with, to have seen work. I love their work. I'm a fan of everybody up here. Brother Ernest, can you tell them a little bit, for the people who don't know, how you started out, like what your story is?
Okay. Being almost 80 years old, so I'm gonna have to really abbreviate it down a few seconds as best I can. But I grew up here in Dallas, area called Freedman Town, which is some people call Short Enough Dallas, some people call Thomas and Hall Street area. Is it still standing? So I know it's a Freedman Cemetery there, but most of the neighborhood has been gentrified, and it's one of the most concentrated areas for wealth, for taxes, because of the wealth of those builders they put there, residents. So, but when I was there, it was a 99% African American neighborhood. It was settled by people who came from East Texas and around as former slaves, and settled there in that area for new opportunities to break that chain of oppression and set up their own community. So they provided me and my families, our neighbors, and everyone there who grew up in that area a safe refuge. We were surrounded by Klansmen and racism and government that was all white and courts that were all white. But in this Freedman Town, we had a place where we could call everything we needed was right there within a 2-mile radius. So we could have elementary, middle school, high school was all in walking distance for me. So I didn't have to leave the neighborhood for diddly. And then stores, sheen shops, shoe shops, meat markets, so all these were right there present with us. And I think it only really changed drastically in the late or middle 70s. It went from being that neighborhood to where you could stand on McKinney Avenue and look, what is that, south or west, and you see nothing but clear space. They just cleared it out. I think Southland Enterprises, one of the corporations behind that, moved, and so people's gas was cut off, or the electricity was cut off, or they were threatened with having to move. The property was undersold. There was only 1 or 2 families that stayed there from when I was living there, and Miss Priscilla Hartman's family was another, and so they held out and tried to keep the spirit of the neighborhood alive the best they could. So schools, except Booker T. Washington, St. Paul Church, which were across the street from us, were kind of converted to this tax zone, I guess, where they could, salvage their places. But the rest of the neighborhood became what you call, what's it called today? Uptown. Thank you. Yeah, that's the code word for it. So, but I could, like I said, have everything I needed. So I grew up in a community that was intact. Families were intact. We had all classes of people in the neighborhood who were African Americans, from professionals to blue-collar workers to petty thieves. All of the above were there. And we had theaters, movie places, and all. So we had all our entertainment, a park, library. Paul Laurence Lombard Library was built there through black people in the neighborhood agitating and calling for and investing in the city, putting money and building that Paul Laurence Lombard Library. So I grew up at a time where segregation was the law of the land, and so you could be locked up for being in the wrong water fountain or the wrong restroom, or you could be beaten or trashed because you were the wrong color, so to speak, wrong. You couldn't try on clothes at the department store. You know, so those things we were facing. And the city council was all white. The county commission was all white. And our closest neighbor was Little Mexico. So that was our closest neighborhood to us. And everything else beyond that was either downtown or affluence and so forth, like Live Oak area. Well, I forgot what they called that now. So basically I grew up in where I felt confident and being able to feel safe and having everything I needed. But you had to go outside the neighborhood for something. So that's when I saw and felt the limitations and the low ceiling for employment, for justice, and all those kind of things. So my family was involved in the civil rights movement, fighting for voting rights, helping raise money so people could pay a tax in order to vote. It's called poll tax. I grew up in a church that was St. Paul United Methodist Church today. Right across the street was Booker T. Washington. So having role models like Leslie Patton, who was a principal of Booker T. Washington Technical High School when I was there, founded the first Negro history program in the state of Texas. That was right there at Booker T. And it became statewide thanks to that initiative. My pastor was I.B. Loud, one of my heroes. He has a great oratorical skills. He could send chills down your spine, so I had people I could look up to. Dr. Patton would have meetings we would tell the teachers to get out of the classroom. He wanted to talk to us about black history. So having him do book reviews from black authors and have us feel inspired or get a sense of history was a part of the culture. I grew up at a time also where a war was going on, the Vietnam War, where segregation was on the rise, or was not only legal, but it was being resisted highly. So things like the Brown decision, 1954, there was a plan to slow walk it as best they could to slow it down. So the law required instant integration or desegregation. But if you read the book, The Accommodation, you see that black ministers, as well as the power structure, work together to slow that roll to it ought to be 1 grade per year. I became a member of the NAACP Council as a youth, in high school. And we not only did have social events and raise money for scholarships, but we also did protests. So we protested segregated state fairgrounds during the state fair season. My birthday is October 6th, so that's in a time I couldn't even go there to celebrate. So it was limited. But NAACP and other organizations band together to make sure that our presence was felt by not being there on Negro Achievement Day. And so that started a new frame of attacks for justice. So there was many instances like one was segregating movie theaters. So the youth council took the lead in what we call stand-ins. So we would stand in line on a Sunday morning, Sunday afternoon after church rather, and wearing our Sunday best, and we would, 10 or 20 of us would be lined up in front, and we would go to the ticket counter and ask for a ticket to the main section. It would be denied. It wouldn't be any beating of whips, but we would go back to the end of the line and start all over again for 3 hours almost every Sunday for that period of time, maybe during our summer school when we were not at school. So that was, my first experience was witnessing the fight for desegregation of schools, for changing that pattern, for desegregating public accommodations, and at the same time seeing the horrors of the justice system. There was a man by the name of Tommy Walker who was electrocuted, and the whole community was silent the day he was electrocuted. It was kind of like a vigil. We knew at 6 o'clock on that particular day they were going to pull the lever. So it just sent a chill down me, real know that when I'm out here alive, this man was killed who was innocent. He was, his wife, his mother, his family, his neighbors all attested without shyness, swore, Lord, he was with them at the time this rape and murder was supposed to take place. But Henry Wade, who was a district attorney, and tell me what I'm talking to myself, who was the district attorney, was able to navigate this all-white jury and the judge to not only disregard that testimony, but it probably was considered a lie anyway because it's coming from black mouths, I guess. So that was even that perception. that they lied for that kind of thing. So, but he was electrocuted. Emmett Till, when I was 11 years old, was killed. We know the story of Emmett Till. It shocks to me when we saw his face. His mother made sure that his funeral would be exposed, when they could see the damage that was done to his body, you know. And so those are kind of things were beginning to bring questions to my mind. My family was involved in the community, you know, voter registration. My uncle Clifton was head of the organization that fought for civil rights. My mind has kind of got me right there. But so basically having the family and having support from them and having an intact community under the auspices of when its integration was against the law.
Right.
Was the kind of climate I grew up in.
Right on. Did y'all hear the similarities between what he said he grew up in and what's going on right now?
Yes.
So that's the reason why we're having this conversation today, because the work must continue. Like, quite literally, a lot of things that he said we can relate to. You know, a lot of them we can relate to. With that being said, everybody up here, like I said, has been in this fight and doing the things that needs to be done to help change these conditions that we all know all too well, right? Brother Ernest, last question I want to ask you before I let the panelists get to doing what they do is, how did you get started working with Dr. King and in that movement?
Okay. I graduated from high school in 1963, and my choice of school, which my family really celebrated, was Morehouse College in Atlanta. My father was a pastor in a little town south of Atlanta called Noonan, Georgia. And he asked me to come and visit him before going to freshman orientation that August. So I spent maybe 2 months there, but at the same time was the murder of Medgar Evers, that took place in June. 4 girls were blown up in a Birmingham church. The March on Washington was being planned and would be executed that summer in August. So I was feeling the loss of Medgar Evers, things like that was in my heart, as well as the fact that we had a way to go back and fight. That was through the March on Washington. So me going out on the streets of Noonan, Georgia, which is a totally racist small town where everybody know everybody's business. Soon they were knocking on my door, you know what I'm saying? Telling my father, your son's out here having people sign up. He's an outside agitator, trying to raise money for the March on Washington, get people to go. If you don't do something, somebody gonna do something to him. So my father said, let me get you on a train, go back to Dallas. And so he said, when you come back through, just go straight to Atlanta. So that was my first thing. So when I came to Atlanta, and my first semester at Morehouse, I got to be in the same dormitory, same room with people who fought in Birmingham, who were on the streets and had left school to go to fight in the streets and were locked up. So I had 2 roommates from Birmingham. The conversation with them, like, what was that when y'all doing? This is great, you know. Then there was a demonstration in downtown Atlanta to protest segregation at a restaurant that was run by a man named Lester Maddox. Lester Maddox became the governor of Georgia later that same year, but in the meanwhile, he got his reputation for beating up people who came into his restaurant. And he had axe handles on the wall where customers could get and grab one and beat somebody that came in the wrong color.
Wow. So
it was a 24-hour, 7-day-a-week demonstration taking place. And they had a truck going through the neighborhood with a sound system saying, come on down, we need help. And so I got out of my bed, went out there, and I joined a line marching around. It wasn't quite as passive as it was at the Majestic Theater. Rowdy, people were trying to break into the restaurant. The black cops would kind of step aside so we could get in. And when we got in, they would lock us up, you know. So it was those guys. But the people that I met there were from SNCC. Jim Foreman, Julian Bond, you name it, they were there, and I got a chance to talk with them. I found out that their office was only a few blocks away from the Morehouse. So in my free time, I would go there and just volunteer. And that just led to me getting to know more. They had what they call a wide area telephone service. So that people in Mississippi could call Atlanta headquarters to tell us what was going on. We could report by phone without paying a fee. So we had to have somebody answer the phone. I would answer the phone on some days I was volunteering, and I got to hear the stories, what was happening in Mississippi. People being arrested or being chased or being beaten, being killed for simply standing up or wanting to vote. People's property being stolen, ripped off or burned down, churches being harmed. So I got those reports, taking notes and making reports and sending them to the executive director and so forth. And I said, what am I doing here just on the phone? I need to be a part of this. So I was 18 at the time, and basically I had to be an adult to join legally. So I had to have my parents' permission to join, and they fought against me doing it initially. Right. But they basically graciously said, if this is in your heart, son, we're going to let you in. So my mother was on the phone, my dad was in my living room, so we talked back and forth. That was the final solution. If this is what you really want to do, just do it. So they were afraid for me losing my college path, for being hurt or destroyed or damaged or locked up. But they said, it's really it's really in your heart, and we'll support you. And they did. And so I joined SNCC based on that.
Right on. That's what's up. So, open it up to you guys. Anybody have any questions for Brother Ernest?
Now, after the two parts that he's already gone through, the first question is about and this is for like everybody on the panel can maybe speak to this, is about the participation of the black churches in the slowing of the civil rights movement and the progress of black communities in exchange for land and tax abatements and all these different things, and then also the funding, like the phone bank thing that you were talking about. How do you know about how it was, was it like community donations that funded it to allow for them to have those phone lines available, like in a collective setting, so that so that they had access to those phone numbers to be able to use it to call back and forth? Or was it like was there black affluent black folks who were funding it, or was it like from the community effort, or was it funding from SNCC that was actually making that possible?
Okay. I want to say first, I met you back in 2018, and you were part of community gardening, environmental.
I'm still in.
So thank you for your service and what you've been doing. And you got to teach us the difference between dirt and soil. I know dirt is dirt, but he talking about you gotta have soil. Anyway, so basically, as best I understand you, I don't know exactly where to start. I guess what you start with the pastors. You were right. So I met with Peter Johnson just a few days ago. He retold the story of what he faced in 1969 to bring King into town. And my best of understanding is that we own no banks, we had no sources for revenue, and so you had powerful banks withdraw their support, not let you extend your building, not let you make improvements if you got out of line. So there were basically 14 pastors, black Negro pastors, who were on a list, and you could call them up and they would do your bid and they would tell you who to vote for, what you should not say. So that was the kind of control. If you read the book called, what's it called? Reconciliation? Yeah, if you read that book, the story's really been told in there. So that was just, to be able to survive your church, you didn't have to, but you chose to submit to that power, that rule. So I think that was one of the complications for slowing down the movement. And the church had exerted a lot of control and power and influence on the neighbors and the congregation and people. So they had an exalted sense of power, but they were limited to what they could do because they were tied down by the economic situation. So it was about, I guess I can't really think what was going through their mind, but I know there were some people who didn't succumb to that. But these most powerful, largest churches did. And I don't want to go into all the names, but basically that was, we call it like Uncle Tom's, if you want to call it. So that was part of that. As far as the question about support for the movement in Mississippi and around, it was the whole thing about SNCC that separated from other organizations was that the people already have the power. They just need to be supported and they organized to do it. So the leadership came from the communities, from farmers, sharecroppers, and all. The grassroots up organization that was the style of SNCC. So community organizing is based on listening to the folk, hearing what they say, what is priority, what is their needs, and trying to respond to that. It just so happened that voter education was a thread through all, and voter registration to see the power to vote. If you can look at a map of the South, you have what you call the Black Belt, which goes from Virginia all the way to East Texas. It's like a line of counties that go from that whole area throughout the South that were majority black. But at the same time, you look at the power in the Congress and the Senate, it was white. So you had minority rule governing the country, because if you had control of the House Ways and Means community or armed services or all these different forces they had, judiciary, you name it, in the Senate and the country, they kept coming from the senators who won elections to the South, then that was a perpetuation of this power. And so recognizing that if we could change the chemistry and the policies and the structure of voting, we would make a big impact almost right away. So organizing the Mississippi Freedom Democratic Party was one way to do that. It was the farmers who let us live in their home, who protected us. They didn't believe in nonviolence. So if you drove into this where we were staying and without a certain light signal, you could be blown away because they were in the trees on the gates protecting us. So we got protection from them. We got places to stay through them. All these small little counties that you can not even see on a map if you looked at. And so that was our source of strength, and there was also the real leaders. I think it was Ella Baker who said, strong people don't need strong leaders. We need people who can listen. We need people who can uplift, who can inspire. But we are strong people, and we're strong because we have, as a people, we're strong. So it was our attitude too to take that philosophy, that method of work with us wherever we went. So we don't have to be commanding or demanding or ordering or being elites looking down. We were looking up to the people that helped raise them up. So that was the style and philosophy of SNCC. So we got money through people making contributions that way. There was a grant called a Voter Education Project. I think it was a national grant that was part of the whole effort to educate and change the political alignment in the South. So they gave us a grant. We could use that for this, that, and the other. I got paid $9.64 a week. Big time. That was after they took out the it was $10.
After they get theirs, right?
So it was like 1 week check for $9. But that wasn't even a need of mine. I smoked cigarettes then, and I got embarrassed. I would buy some cigarettes or things like that, or gum or something. But a place to stay, the clothes on my back, even food would be provided by the neighbors. We had a little policy where people from friends of SNCC up north would send us canned food. We had a policy, you just can't pick what can you want, so we took the labels off the cans. You can shake it that. Maybe this is a tuna fish. But whatever you got, you stuck with. So I get some okra or something like Anyway, so it was basically what you picked from this unlabeled can, what you ate.
In the event that some people don't know SNCC, he's referred to SNCC a lot. That's the Student Nonviolent Coordinating Committee, and Ella Baker is one of their queen. I'll say the queens, the organizer, because there were strong women, in that organization, and they conducted the Freedom Rides and the Freedom Summers and so forth, the voter registration drive, just for context.
So our funding came through community sharing with us through the Voter Education Project, and the Watch Line was financed, I think, through those kind of funds. But basically, when you in Mississippi called it Atlanta, you didn't have to pay any tolls or anything. It was always free. So it was an open line that became life-saving. In 1964, there were 3 civil rights workers that were killed in Mississippi. 2 of them were Jewish young men, and 1 was African American. And the death of that, it sparked some funding. I had to say it came through a travesty. But in 1967, SNCC, the Student Nonviolent Coordinating Committee, took a stand against Israel attacking Palestine. It called for the right to Palestinians have self-determination. So the money we were getting, which was huge from the Jewish community, just dried up all overnight. So that was the kind of thing. So they said,
I mean, the similarities, right? Right?
and so they
That's
gave
why
us,
we're here.
after Schreiner and Goodwin were killed, they were two Jewish young men. We were able to equip each SNCC base with a fleet of cars. They were 1965 Plymouth Furies. We had them souped up. So before that we had jalopies and maybe something on foot, And then we was equipped with CB radios, so we could communicate and tell people somebody was chasing us or let them know where we are. So those kinds. So that helped us, but that dried up almost overnight in 1967. So I hope I explained a little bit about the funding.
Absolutely. It's the infrastructure that the organizations during the 60s that for the civil rights struggle that were able to be built literally off the backs of what we now refer to as like crowdfunding. Is absolutely it's absolutely inspiring to me today because we are much more entranced, like dependent on certain systems that just allow for the raising of voices, but do not necessarily focus on. It's like the rhetoric. Like we want to put this message out, and it's about being heard, but then the infrastructure doesn't allow for the change. The infrastructure isn't built to allow for the change that is actually being requested and demanded, so that you can put a stop to the systems as they are that are causing the problems, and then institute new systems. So, and that's why I wanted wanted you to speak a little bit to how important it is to not just raise the message.
The infrastructure. SNCC had a full-time community organizer. There were approximately 125 of us. It wasn't a membership org. You couldn't just join. So we had groups called Friends of SNCC in the northwest and north, with people like Harry Belafonte, Sidney Portier, who would raise funds. So through the Friends of SNCC, they would have concerts or fundraisers, so we would send money to us that way. So that was additional.
Right on.
There was down there somebody I saw.
Oh, I have a question. Oh, okay. Icon McMillan, as I would.
And my mother's name Eva too, so thank you.
Yay. I want you to share, and of course this would be coming from the journalist, how do you feel if social media was available back then, that it would have impacted the movement?
That's an excellent question. Thank you. I have my doubts about the overall positive nature of social media. In many cases, it's a distraction. It's a way of not dealing with the real world. It's a way of making major petty things, like arguments between artists and whatever. So I think I'm kind of glad because we were forced to communicate directly, to shake people's hands, to be in their face, to have face-to-face meetings. I'm not sure what would have been effective we had it then, because there's a certain mentality and a certain adaptability for culture that takes place too. So I just wonder what would happen. Can you use your imagination? How would it affect us? Because we depend on relationship building, and the churches and having music and people there present, feeling the fire, being a part of it. So those were, I think, valuable parts. I don't regret not having social media. It would probably improve because in some ways, I think the overall effect could have been even more damaging in some ways. Just food for thought.
I think if they had the fortitude of the people back then, the fortitude of you guys now with social media, it would be powerful because they did that Montgomery bus boycott with no social media. That they organized tight, they had a program, they had communication, and they went for 381 days, right?
Yes.
So here you couldn't hold up in one day.
No, it's true.
Boycotting, one day boycott because Brother Man took a knee, get people to boycott the NBA.
NFL.
NFL.
They play the
I knew
ball.
it was NFL.
It was one of them.
You know what I mean? So if it was a fortitude of people from the 50s, 60s, I'll say that. And maybe a little into the 70s. But I think it'd be powerful, yeah.
National Independent Black Parties.
Um,
I have a
organiz-
question, Joe. Sorry.
Just a second.
Okay. Go
Organizing is important, right? It's one of the major components of continuing the work, right? Because the work is work. It's work. It's not a word. It's the work. So organizing is a major component of that, and y'all have touched on that several times. You know, everybody. But also with organizing comes support. Comes that funding. You guys, y'all who came out here today, I appreciate y'all because quite literally what he said is, you know, you need the friends, right? You need people who support, who come around and who actually donate their time, their energy, and their financials, right, to these movements to help. Also, I would like to know, I would like to know out of the panelists up here, who doesn't know everybody up here? Have you?
So I don't know Giles.
Okay.
I know Ples, the young man on the end. Miss Linda, I think I've been in a room with you before, but I don't know you personally, and I don't know you, Miss Eva, but I did meet a lady who worked with you a few weeks ago on another panel. So we're family now. I know.
Right on.
Yeah.
I definitely don't. I do not know everybody on.
Right on. That's important because we need to know who else is doing the work. We need to know who is doing the work, right? So we can organize, so we can find those friends of SNCC, right? Siobhan?
So I wanted to ask the question to Mr. McMillan. When you look at, tagging on to what Ples asked about the churches, when you look at their involvement during the movement and where we are now and what was able to be accomplished, what do you see as different from the churches we have today?
As far as the circumstances today
Yeah.
versus
So like,
circumstances
so
then?
that we'll take it off of, and I'll stay with us dealing with racial issues, but I'd like to go to like dealing with school issues, right? We got a lot of kids that are in trouble, and our schools are not responding, and our churches. I always grew up. I'm a part of a family full of preachers and pastors, and my grandfather was always of the mindset that the church is the hospital. That's where you go to get help. Whatever the help is you need, that's where you show up. And so, what do you feel like in this day and age, if we're thinking about our children, what do you see that's different in our churches that's not making the communities the way they used to be before?
Okay. I would like to go a little broader than
Go
that,
for
not
it.
just say churches.
Go for it.
But I'm thinking that the title of my book is talk about turbulent times then. It's nothing compared to what we're going through now.
Indeed.
We're talking about the life of the planet is irreversibly going to destroy. About the rise of fascism worldwide, with this country leading the way. We're talking about just a greater separation between the rich and the poor. You know, 1% versus 99%.
Yes.
So we're seeing all these things now. In fact, if you go back, if you were born in 1984, you've seen stuff were unimaginable to us. You know, we're talking about pandemics, we're talking about overseas wars, we're talking about crisis and economic downturns, we're talking about shifts in population, we're talking about the rise of the ultra-right and white supremacy. So I think I've just seen glimpses of pieces of progress, but it's been a dance, a choreography of one step forward, and sometimes 3 or 4 steps back. You know, so we've come a long way. Don't let me minimize that. We've come so very far from enslavement, from being able to not even talk to each other, but being lynched or killed because we expressed ourselves. So we've come a long way. I don't want to deny that, but we've also been forced back many steps. Our gains have been temporary and pushed back. So it's been, we thought we had some great strides made with Obama as president. Who succeeded him and what happened then? So we went back, you know. So I'm just saying that's the choreography of the struggle today. And I'm putting all my efforts today and being supportive of the youth today. They need us more than ever. We all need to, whatever we're doing today, we need to just step up at least one notch. You know, if you're not involved, get to know your neighbor. If you know your neighbor, how can we do to make our community better? So it's just a lot of things we can do, and it's open to wherever you are, whatever gifts, whatever talents you have, there's something that can contribute to the whole. I think we need to take that attitude, you know, to where we do some self-reflection. What am I doing, and what could I be doing? And that looking at the clock is running. You know, we talking about we're on a short leash for time. Yes. In November of this year, we could have a whole nother dynasty about. We could have what is a regional war in the Mideast become a worldwide war. You know, so all these things are right in front of us today. So we went through a pandemic of 2 years, more maybe, and what happened to the minds and the state and the status and the education of our young people in those 2 years? I was able to visit a middle school. Did a work in a middle school honoring our ancestors in Albuquerque with middle school students, and it just blew my mind. You know, I said, can you write down this statement? And they said, how do you spell this? Or something like, it was like, sometimes I had to write them. These are middle school students. Right. You know, they were talking about their mothers and aunties and grandfathers dying from the pandemics, COVID, about gang wars and people being blown away on the streets as they stood around. And when I was in school, we just worried about spitballs, and, you know, bullets or fights, fist fights, not guns. So I told this is a whole different ball game we're talking about. So it was an eye opener to me, and so I have recommitted myself and dedicated myself to building a national network for youth leadership development. I'm putting all my eggs on. So I'm working with a group of elders and a group of youth, saying how we can bring this together more and more. So that's been my overarching purpose. I've been fighting the fact of being an elder, but now I'm excited. I am. I can't hide it.
Embrace that.
So basically, just trying to do our job to pass the torch forward, to give them support, be the wind beneath their wings, everything they need, and how we can do it. I'm proud of the organization, a Young Leader Strong City, Texas Organizing Project. There are groups that are want to support and involved in this effort to build a national youth leadership development support system. And so that's encouraged to me. We're in the process now of the second step of step 4 in doing strategic planning. So by August and September, we should have our marching orders and our assignments and our infrastructure put together. And I hope we can go forward and include more and more people in that. I'm expecting it. Anyway, so I don't know so it is a big difference in time, technology-wise, culture-wise. I was so proud of the youth that marched and fought across the country in 2020. The result from Brother Floyd murder and the other travesties that took place. That's more than we ever accomplished in that short period of time. We're talking about 500 cities in the United States active and engaged. We're talking about international support. So but what happened to it? How can we sustain those guys? How can we support? How can we make it more effective even and be sustainable? So that's the thing I'm grasping with. I hope we all can contribute to the solution.
Any recommendations on how we can get the young people engaged, get them to register to vote, because they're not hearing that our ancestors died for the right to vote. They're not hearing that anymore.
And they're also seeing that so much rigmarole going too, you know.
Yeah.
And that the choices are so limited too. And so it's kind of breeding a depression or apathy and more of this. I won't put it all on the kids, but we do need to give them that spark and show them how many people fought and died and did for that. I knocked on doors working for Texas Organizing Project as a volunteer back in 2018. So we went through Pleasant Grove and Oak Cliff, knocking on doors and so forth. But it turns out it was like single-digit people voting, you know.
Yeah.
And I'm not sure that's maybe on a national level more people vote, but we need to talk about the local elections and get involved in every level, the court system, the city council, all the different departments. So we need to figure out a way we can get more of us. I support what you're saying 100%, but we got a responsibility toward that too, not just put it on them.
In what you just said about 28 2018, 2020, George Floyd, and all the riots that went on and all the change that happened and what happened to it. We have people up here who, we actually got our start, Word on the Street with Judah got our start doing that movement. We covered the George Floyd riots here in Dallas. That's where I met a lot of these wonderful people actually. And one of the people up here I want to single out, sorry to, Yafea, Brother Balagoon, he is a master organizer. And when I say that, what I mean is it's not just about organizing, it's about the conclusion. Okay.
That's right.
Yafea has several campaigns that have come to a conclusion, a real conclusion. One of those campaigns that you all are familiar with is Botham John. You know Botham John Street, downtown, that used to be Lamar Street? You can thank Brother Yafea for that. Him, Brother Marcus X. Russell, Brother Devontae D. Peters, who has a store over here helping people in the hood, and Nicole and myself and several other revolutionaries got behind this brother. In 2020, they made a giant Botham John street sign. It was giant. And what they did is, I'm not gonna tell this man. Tell him what you did, bro. Where you at? No.
Well, I'm gonna just say this. As everybody here knows, you just have to be able to see the time. And as an organizer, you'll get the feeling of what has a better opportunity than other things. And I saw, and other people saw, obviously, what was going on nationally, and thought we wanted to. Make some sort of example locally. And that's simple as that. We knew that at that particular time, people were more sympathetic, obviously, than they are now. And so we know that folks in so-called power structure were looking to do something that can kind of put some sugar on doo-doo. And so that was an opportunity for them to put sugar on doo-doo. But I do have a question. And I thank you, Judah, for acknowledging. I appreciate that because not all the time there's some acknowledgement. When you was organizing with the OK Supermarket, correct me if I'm wrong. My history is not exact. Some people, Matthew Johnson, folks like that, were actively involved. When you realized that it was going to be an intense situation. Because I think there was something about somebody dropped some food or a bottle got dropped and all that stuff. Like, what was your thought process kind of starting that, leading up to that, and ultimately, just kind of let folks how that ended?
Yeah, how did that end?
So, OK Supermarket boycott took place after King's assassination in '68. OK Supermarkets was a chain of 11 stores, small little convenience stores with jacked up prices and all white employees for the most part. And 2 white men owned it. And so it was a ghetto gouging establishment. And we went through the community, I think in May and June, through several churches having what we call mass meetings and asking people, what is the number one priority? What should we be dealing with? What's number one? And of course, we had police brutality was up there, and desegregated schools, and housing, and all that. But one upper consistent theme in everyone was about food scarcity. It was about lack of being able to have access to food. And so it was people had to get in their cars or get on a bus to go shop for decent food at decent prices. But right there in the neighborhood on Malcolm X Boulevard and all these other streets that are located where they had OK Supermarkets, people would go there because that was most convenient. I guess they call it convenience store. But they would face triple the prices if they would go to Safeway or whatever national chain. And they would also, if you didn't have the money, don't worry, we'll give you an account.
Credit.
So you can put it on credit. You come back to pay that bill next month, it's 10 times more. You said actually your account doesn't match their figures. So it was those kind of things that we kept hearing about. So after discovering and undercovering the plight of the community and begin to understand how it reverberated with everyone in a sense, we decided to take action. But we didn't want to just say, don't come to the store. We want to set an example. So about 20 of us decided we would go before we officially launched the boycott, was to go in one that was on Pine Street and now Malcolm X Boulevard and just create a little havoc. The plan was to go to the meat counter, order a bunch of meats, have maybe a cut of special ways, and then just take it to the counter and walk away. Don't buy it. Just leave it in your barrel. Or you might be testing a tomato or something, you might squeeze it too hard. Accidentally. Or you might drop a gallon of milk. Or you might leave the ice cream counter open. Yeah. So those are the little resistance type steps we wanted to take. But of course, it didn't go that way. They said it was reported there was over $200 worth of damage to the property. And I was the young man who took the witness stand, he saw me drop a gallon of milk. And so me and Matthew Johnson were considered the co-principals, the leaders of this demonstration. So we were charged for destruction of private property over the value of $50. We could have gotten 20 years easily because of all-white jury and a judge that was white who wanted to run for election and win the election because they were voting these judges in. And so, and we had a district attorney that was adamant to make sure we stopped these folks from taking America to hell. That's what they call it. So we had that kind of atmosphere in the town, as well as the political structure that condoned and allowed, perpetuate that uneven justice. Dallas County was leading the way in putting people in prison 2,500 years. You know, somebody, how you gonna sentence somebody 2,000 years or 500 years? You know, and Texas Department of Correction, which housed the men and women, because they had Goree as women's unit, and Mountain View, I think, is women's unit. We were slaves. So we weren't earning any pay. Yep. We were being forced into the fields. This was more agriculture based, or we were canning vegetables or making license plates, whatever, free of labor, you know, forced labor. So those were the conditions they had. So it was a whole system of criminal justice chain from the streets all the way to the prison, and not just state prison, but federal. And so we took that action, and there's a judge here, a justice of the peace called Richburg. He had a justice of peace court. We had been charged erroneously with threatening a security officer's life at the Good Luck Drive-In on what's that, Oakland? I guess no, Martin Luther King. No, it was off of Martin Luther King on Malcolm X Boulevard and Grand Avenue.
Yeah, Grand. Yeah.
So basically, we went there. There was a place where dozens of cars were parked, people jamming in their music. It was a social gathering. You go buy you some food, buy you a drink, sit in your car, have fun, meet people. So it was a natural place for people to congregate. We would go there with our flyers and our newsletter. We had a newspaper called the Dallas Black Disciple. And so there was a security guard there by the name of Lithicum who said, "You guys can't be distributing drugs. This is a free country, man. You can't take this. We just handed out people who want to receive it." So he went to the judge, Justice of the Peace, saying we were threatening his life. So while we were facing this charge, the people from OK Supermarket walked in and said, "Hey, they were in my store the other night."
Wow.
You know? And so basically the Judge Richburg had a reputation for treating people unfairly, especially people of color. And he would be on his phone selling hogs and cows and stuff while conducting his court business. So he had that kind of reputation. So he immediately charged us with this peace bond violation, and then referred the charges to the Dallas County District Attorney, which became a felony. So being Matthew and myself were charged with that. So that's kind of it in a nutshell.
Did you get sentenced?
Yeah, I got sentenced to 10 years. And the district attorney told me, I think it's Doug Moeller, his name, he said, "Damn, you only got 10 years? You almost got me fired, because you're supposed to get 20 years.
Wow. So, I mean, for us, you know what I'm saying? For us, 10 years for us. Thank you.
Yeah. But I like this conversation. This is good. I ain't gonna lie. And they call me the Black Dallas Landmark.
Okay.
And right now, y'all heard about that people that got busted, right?
Yes, sir.
Now, all these churches that he sold over here, I talked to the current owner this morning about those churches. And I know the city owner. Now, I don't want to deal with too many churches, but I parted with some white girls. Said at their church, moderator, they want to be here Father's Day. This is going to be an awesome thing because the churches got seized through the city. Now, what those churches sell for our own black community to go get them. That's what we need to think. But all whites are come out.
Yeah.
Now we got to come up, like I said, I'm listening to y'all come up with a coordination plan. But those churches belong, it's a landmark for us.
Right.
It's not theirs. They got it from SMU College. You teach those white kids how to write grants and come to your community and segregate you. That's our downfall. You know, this is what I'm going through Father's Day. And most of these guys losing in Texas on child support. Okay?
Right.
All our entertainers, our actors, we got to go to different states to make money. Because Texas ain't going to give us 2 cents on child support.
Right.
Am I right or wrong? But this was going on this week. That man got 45 euros money. I parted with these girls in their church Saturday. And then Saturday, going to that church in here, I had some white guys in here showing me how to make bombs on TV. Right? It was just last week.
What's the question? What's the question?
What are we going to do to organize when they come through here thinking that they run the South?
Yeah.
Across the Trinity Road from downtown as a black premium. We are black premiums.
Right on.
You know, we are black premiums. We ain't supposed to give the land away. The black forest dead. They, you know, the demolition stopped all of a sudden too. That's where they got buried those premiums at.
Do y'all know what he's referring to? Okay, so local pastor he did get arrested for selling churches that did not belong to him through fraud. So
Yep.
I know what you're talking about, brother. First thing we're gonna do is not commit fraud. That's how we're gonna
Right.
we gonna make sure we got our paperwork together. So
Well,
that's number one.
yeah.
And then I'm gonna talk to you afterwards if you don't mind.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
I got the deed.
That'll work. Me and you'll talk. Back to this discussion.
Can I amend one thing I said?
Yes.
Our goal was to, with the OK Supermarket, was to exert influence and bring them to the table to transact a sale of their buildings, a business to the black community. And we had a black businessman here by the name of Tony Davis who ran a magazine, a media corporation of some sort. He was able to attract a black-owned supermarket out of Atlanta, Georgia called Jet Food that agreed to come and negotiate and take over the 10 stores in our community. But at the same time, there was all kind of other heat coming down from others, but we couldn't get to that point. So what I'm saying is that our goal was just to protest. We want to see a change in the structure and the economic flow of wealth in our community too,
Yes, sir.
and services. So I think that's important because sometimes we talk about demonstrating for the sake of being heard, but what can we do beyond that?
Right.
Let's be heard, let's make a difference and make a change in policy, a change in actions, and a change in structure as well. So we got to go beyond just to call for here we are.
Yes, sir.
This is what we got now.
Right.
Anyway.
Was there a continuing like boycott that ended up happening for the OK store? Like y'all went in initially to kind of rabble rouse a little bit and make some noise. Did a boycott of all the stores?
Yeah, we had the press reported it was 85% effective, and it went on for several weeks. And then the owners of the store said, "Well, we surrender. We'll go. You know what I want to do is we want to sell it to y'all." So that's where we're in the process of negotiating the transfer.
It's interesting that you say that and that happened over there in that neighborhood because does anybody know about Save a Lot on MLK? All right, so same thing. Save a Lot on MLK just recently got shut down, right? So it's gone. It was one of the only grocery stores over there in that area. So yeah, quite literally the people over there are still dealing with the exact same issues.
Yeah.
All right.
It's real nice.
And I know this is a recurring thing for me, but that's quite literally why we're here, guys. Like, we need to be talking because we need to be showing. Like I said, everybody up here is organized. Everybody up here is a doer. They're all workers. So we need to know what we're doing so we can start to organize better, start to concentrate our efforts, and start to see more changes, more real, lasting changes. One of the things that I find interesting is in our community we talk about going to get it and come back with it. You ever heard that?
Yeah.
Go out and get it and come back with it. Well, we have people up here who went out and got it and came back with it. One of those people is Giles King. Giles has an amazing career, and for all intents and purposes, he does not have to be here at all. But he chooses to be, and he chooses to invest his time and his energy back into our community. But Giles has been on Broadway. Giles is an amazing actor, producer, director, everything. And I would just like to know from your point of view, artistically, how important is it to infuse the arts into these movements?
Absolutely. If you think about the movement, there was a sound of the movement. And the arts were all through that sound, and the sound wasn't taught, it was felt, it was lived. So, you know, the arts were all a part of that movement. I'm an arts baby, so when I got to Atlanta, I went to Morehouse College. I graduated from Morehouse. So you said Morehouse, I was like, the house, for sure. But when I was there, I didn't learn about the Black Arts Movement until I moved to Atlanta. And to see how the Black Arts Movement really paralleled with the Civil Rights Movement was amazing to me. And so that thread and that through line was all the way there. But thank you, Judah, because I do have a question.
Yes.
So there was, speaking of voices, there was always like a permeating voice that whether it was Dr. King or whoever, that really like was the solidifying voice for the movement. We don't have that now. Do you think there's a reason why we don't have that, and is it needed in this current time?
Okay, as I said earlier, I just want to really try to emphasize that we don't need charismatic voices or leadership in the terms of idol or messiah.
Right.
We need a collective, ongoing, effective source of grooming, training, building, creating leaders from their own ranks, from their own calling. And I'm glad you mentioned the arts, because back in the day in the 60s, it was community organizers on one side, artists on the other. Now music was a very dynamic part and a pillar of the movement, but it was only like on Sundays at the church or mass meetings in the evening. And so, but I'm fortunate to be worked with Calamia Theater from 2016 to 2019, I think it was, in which I got to see firsthand how transformative and powerful the arts can be and are in shifting thoughts and behaviors, as well, opening minds and eyes as well. So I'm talking about painting, music, drama, film, whatever you want to, all those things, creative aspects that can train, can open people's eyes and help them transform. So I'm glad to see there's more of a interpenetration between the arts and community organizing. I think it should have been, we would have been much further along. I know we would if we had done that more and more. But the Free Southern Theater, groups like that were like, you can't organize the cats, you know. Yeah. Maybe we can do the puppies, but not cats. So the cats were the creative minds who individualistic and so forth. And so it was more of a tendency to concentrate on the community organizing. But I think that's something that we need to reignite, the spirit of the transformative powers of the arts and get them more. So theater, and look at even being more creative in how designing new theater where there's more audience participation, where there's more healing aspects brought into the theater. So it's come deeper and broader as well at the same time. So I'm just glad to be in your company and everyone here, but especially looking at the arts, how we need to find ways to do. We talked about religion, we talked about politics, so I think we need to raise the arts to that status too, or maybe more so.
Yes.
I don't know if I answered any questions.
I think with that, you mentioned like people like Harry Belafonte and the artists, I think, are really huge in these movements and in the things that we do because they have the following. They have the people that are always sharing their content or whatever they put out. So when you can attack the artists or get them involved, then it opens up a plethora of opportunities. People gravitate, they're just infatuated with celebrity.
They are.
And it really, just knowing how to leverage that and how to use it can make a world of a difference.
I think celebrity we need to recognize and find a way that can be more supportive of the movement, more progressive minded.
Right.
Not talking about gangs or shootings and killing. How can we bring and educate, use the whole form of art to lift and heal and help build lives? So I'm really pleased. Like Calumet is what they call the School of Yes. It takes place during the summer with children from 8, 9 years old to 7, 15 or so are actively involved in dance, music, drama, and even making puppets and things like that. So, and I've seen them grow and expand their minds and it has an impact, a lasting impact. And so we also got to recognize where people are. And I think the power of music is a healing force. I can testify to that. You know, as far as helping me get through tough times, as far as having an outlet for my expression. So every opportunity we have to help people increase the power to express themselves through writing, clay, metal, whatever form we can use to bring that out. It's helpful for settling souls as well as healing aspect to it too. So that's powerful. I want us to find the ways we can integrate that more and more into the movement.
Right on.
I appreciate what you guys are doing for that.
We appreciate you. I have 2 more questions. I'm gonna say the last one for all the journalists on the panel and all the journalists in the room. Before I get to that one, I want to ask my brother Gino, who works with students and who is very involved in universities, and just he's very close to the youth. Where are we losing them?
A lot of times, it's kind of how